A difficult day for Theresa May, Britain's embattled Prime Minister.
I've listened very carefully to what has been said in this chamber and out of
it. She had hoped her draft Brexit deal on how the UK leaves the EU would somehow get through Parliament.
Order. Does this House want to deliver Brexit? But if the House does it want to do so through reaching an agreement with the EU? If the answer is yes, and I believe that is the answer of the majority of this House, then we all have to ask ourselves whether we're prepared to make a compromise.
Politicians of all stripes are angry with Theresa May. There were loud calls for her to quit.
The Prime Minister is trying to buy herself one last chance to save this deal. If she doesn't take on board the fundamental changes required, then she must make way for those who can.
While MPs passionately debated inside Parliament, outside Parliament, pro- and anti-Brexit demonstrators. They're squabbling representative of the mood of the nation. Many people have problems with May's draft Brexit deal. Nearly everyone dislikes her proposed border arrangement between Ireland and Northern Ireland, the so-called backstop. It guarantees that the only land border between the UK and the EU will remain open, something everybody wants. But under the draft agreement, Northern Ireland will behave as if it was still part of the EU in terms of trade and the movement of people. This would either effectively create a new border within the UK, or else the whole of the UK would have to keep EU trade conditions. Both of these options raise fierce opposition among Brexiteers. Everyone seems a bit fed up.
I'm not sure they could be dealing with it any worse, really. I think they've obfuscated, they've been really unclear about what they're doing, why they're doing it. I mean, the point is, I voted against it, or I don't think anyone who voted against it really understands how you could make a good deal of it.
Again, she's sort of trying to deliver a lot with her hands tied, and she herself is a Remain, so she's sort of, it's almost an unwinnable task that she's got. So I mean, she's doing the best she can, I think.
May now heads to European capitals in a frantic bid to rescue her Brexit deal.
And for more on the story, let me draw in our correspondents Max Hoffman in Strasbourg and Barbara Wiesel is standing by in London. Barbara, let me start with you. A day after the high drama in Parliament behind you, what have reactions there been to Theresa May's postponement of the Brexit vote?
Oh, of course, Amrita. On day 2 of the latest drama, the fun and games in London continue. Just take a look at the papers. Trust the Sun to come up with something tasty. Brexmas turkey. Yikes, I say. And then you have the Telegraph having sort of mirroring the high drama. The lady is for turning, as opposed probably to Margaret Thatcher in earlier times when British politics were more functional, probably. And then, of course, you have The Guardian on a more serious note which says May delivers her plan B, buy more time. None of it is friendly for Theresa May. And if she has seen this tomorrow morning, she must have gone to Europe with rather a heavy heart.
Max, turning to you in Strasbourg, Theresa May appears to be on a desperate mission. What exactly is she seeking from European leaders at this point?
Not exactly sure what she's seeking, but I know what she's going to get. Most likely a little tea and a little sympathy and not much more. Just a reminder, we're dealing with 2 agreements here. And the first one, the withdrawal agreement, is the one with all the contentious issues, is the one with the backstop for the Northern Irish border. That's the one that's causing all the havoc back in London. And many politicians here already today in Strasbourg have made it very clear, nothing that does not include a backstop for the border between Ireland and Northern Ireland will be passed in this House, in this Parliament. And other leaders across Europe have also made it very clear, this divorce agreement, this withdrawal agreement will not be reopened. So the only thing she can really seek is to have political agreement, something, some interpretations. That's what Jean-Claude Juncker, the head of the EU Commission, had to say here. That's his alternative. But the most powerful statement he made, just to finish all doubts whether the withdrawal agreement could be reopened or not, was this one.
And I have to say here in the Parliament, as I did say before in this Parliament, the deal we have achieved is the best deal possible. It's the only deal possible. And so we cannot... There is no room whatsoever for renegotiation.
So, Max, very strong categorical words from the EU Commission President there. Is there then any room for manoeuvre for Theresa May?
Yeah, and he seemed quite shaken, by the way, almost angry, Jean-Claude Juncker, because he knows how long it took to negotiate this withdrawal agreement. Thousands of hours, over 2 years. So the only room of maneuver, and let me clarify that because I touched upon it in my previous answer, is for the political agreement that sets out a possible future relationship between the UK and the EU. Will take many more years to renegotiate. And in there, they might be able to change something or even have an additional document making it clear that the backstop, the infamous backstop, isn't there to be used, and hoping that this might soothe the minds in London.
So some kind of reassurance for Theresa May and her opponents. Barbara, back in London, how's the Prime Minister future looking there? Is there talk of a leadership challenge?
Her future is looking relatively dire because, of course, on all sides of the House here, the plotters are plotting on to their heart's content. From the Labour side already, there was a motion that the Labour Party should bring a vote of no confidence. They're not certain of their majority yet, however. And, of course, the hardline Brexiteers in her own parties have sat down again, thinking about those infamous 48 letters that are needed to bring her down from the side of her own party. And then also, of course, the whole movement for a second referendum, they are smelling the love after the events of yesterday, and they are sort of beginning to push more and trying to gain more political traction. So no, this is not going to be a Merry Christmas for Theresa May.
Barbara Wiesel in London and Max Hoffmann in Strasbourg. Thank you both very much for your perspectives.